Hey everyone, hope you've had your break. It has been a heck of a few weeks. Going away, visiting family, getting ready for my daughter going back to school, a virtual camp this weekend. It's just been a lot. But we're back now, and this is hashtag Let's Get Awkward. I'm Billy No Mates, and today we are looking at something I've been posting on my personal Facebook, Black Lives Matter. Or in this case, as it is a trans podcast, it is Black Trans Lives Matter. And the first thing I want to just say is racism. I don't understand it at all. I never have. The question has always been, how can my skin colour make me superior? I mean, it doesn't. Yet we live in a day and age where people still think it does. Or some believe we need to keep with our own ethnics and not mingle with them. Or they are stealing our jobs. And if I had £1 for every time I heard it growing up, I wouldn't need a loan to go to university. It's tiresome to see white people with the same skin as me, be cruel, violent, inhumane, monstrous, insulting. The list goes on. It has left me with a certain fear. I'm scared and nervous that people of colour are going to think that I'm just like them. And I'm not. I'm sick and tired of people not seeing what I see. I see a human with a beating heart, air in their lungs, and an amazing, unique mind waiting to be explored. I mean, the best people I've met came from overseas. There was a family from Ghana, husband was a doctor, and his wife was a nurse. They came to the UK for a better life and had 2 kids. They worked hard to support themselves, and the wife was a beast. Seriously, when it came to games, I still have scars from her claws when she came for me at a Hindu game. What it was we had to trick people into saying words that were associated with the word wedding. And when we did that, we had to take one of their pegs that was clipped onto their clothes. She misunderstood what I said. She thought I said, I don't know what word she thought I said, but she ran after me, grabbed my wrist, dug her claws in, flipping heck. She was so full of love and joy and support and care, and yet when it came to any type of game, she would have you. Oof. But man, she was a brilliant woman. And there was another lass. I met a wonderful woman from Zimbabwe who made me laugh. And we played a game where we were secret agents from our homeland. She was meant to seal the secret recipe of PG tips, and I was there to stop her. It was a weird game. Yeah, it was the only way I could actually communicate with her because I had social anxiety. So I came up with this whole nonsense, and she was like, I'm going with that nonsense. I love that nonsense. Another family, the parents came from India. The mother she has always been a godsend since the day I met her. My daughter is best friends with her daughter, and since her little one is older than mine, when she grows out of clothes, they are given to me, my daughter, and I have saved hundreds, possibly close to thousands of pounds on clothes. And this is not just everyday run-of-the-mill store-bought stuff. This is Next. It is stuff from America. It is Disney. I get this great stuff that cost her a lot of money, and she's given it to me to support me, and I owe her a lot. Now back to the topic at hand. You would have thought people who are part of a minority, that some people, friends, family, and so on, are so easy to reject, oppress, harm, or even kill, will listen to another minority who seems to have the short end of the stick for centuries. Some people believe that once Barack Obama was in office, racism stopped. But it didn't. Some people believe that when slavery ended, so did slavery. Slavery as a whole ended, but it didn't. Some people believe that because we are in 2020, things like racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, ageism, etc. don't happen, and sometimes it is because they either don't see it in their everyday lives or because they don't see the whole picture. Racism, for example, one person said it doesn't exist because there are people of colour, black people, Asians out there making money, sometimes a lot more money than they are with their jobs that they have, or that person themselves struggle to get a job. But it doesn't really actually come to money itself. It's job advancements, not giving the chance to move up in the ladder and getting promotions. There's medical care, outdated information about how black people have thicker skin and don't feel the pain the same way that white people do. There's many false assumptions leading to bad healthcare. There's behaviour, how we treat other people, whether it's in the work area, outside the work area, social gatherings, public transport, social media posts, the list goes on. And then there's rights itself, denying them basic human rights. Even if it is written into the law, they still seem to have them denied. And USA is a big example on how police treat black people, and the UK, we're not innocent in all of this either. To put it in as a mental image, an example I saw was two people about to run a 100-metre race. The white person has a clear track, while the person of colour has a ball and chain attached to them and has to go through a pond with crocodiles, a 7-foot wall with barbed wire, followed by a 10-foot deep hole that's 10 metres wide, and the finish line is electrocuted. Point I'm making is, I face transphobia, while black trans face not only transphobia, but racism. For me, it feels like a slap in the face compared to what they go through. 26 transgender non-binary lives were lost in the US in 2019 and 12 this year. The majority were black transgender women. Gwen Amber Rose Araujo was murdered in 2002. She was an American Latina and a transgender woman. She was killed by 4 men, 2 who she had been sexually intimate with. They had beat and strangled her after discovering she was trans. 2 were convicted of second-degree murder, but not the hate crime. The other 2 defendants pleaded guilty or no contest to voluntary manslaughter. In at least one of the trials, the trans panic defence was used. Now, the trans panic defence is an extension of the gay panic defence, which is a legal strategy where they claim they acted in a way of violence, temporary insanity, committing assault or murder because of unwanted sexual advances. The idea is the person found the same sexual advances so offensive or frightening that they were provoked into reacting in self-defence in a diminished capacity or were temporarily insane. I find it strange they can actually use this because to harm or kill innocent people. But those who go through sexual harassment, especially women, are told to take these unwanted as compliments, whereas a person of LGBT can simply say to the person, "That shirt really brings out the colour of your eyes," and then get beaten to death. In 2019, Johanna Medina died at age 25 in El Paso, Texas, after being released from ICE, which stands for Immigration Customs Enforcement, custody. She suffered severe health complications that went untreated while she was in detention. She was denied medical care. Now, Johanna was a trained nurse and recognised she needed treatment in the form of IV fluids, which was denied again. She begged for the items she needed to make it herself, and yet again denied. It got so desperate that she begged to be deported so she could receive medical treatment, despite she came to the USA to escape violence from her own country. On June the 1st, her family learnt she died of pneumonia. Transgender women of colour are living in crisis, especially black transgender women. It feels like another blow. So not only do they face transphobia and racism, there is also a sick, twisted sexism, as many people still see them as men. Trans men are men. Trans women are women, no matter what their skin colour. A report from Human Rights Campaign reported that due to systematic discrimination at intersection of gender identity and race, it leads to great barriers to employment and housing, pushing many trans non-binary into underground economies, including sex work, where they'll counter violence. Trans women of colour were leading, well, they've always led, in the LGBT plus activism before, during and after the uprising at Stonewall, yet they seem to be denied a voice. We do need to listen to them just as much as we listen to each other. We live on the same earth and we are all entitled to human rights. I am longing for the day I can say all lives matter, for that day will be the day when all lives will matter. No more racism, no more homophobia, transphobia, ageism, etc., where we can live a life where no one is scared when a police officer approaches them, not being scared of being refused medical treatment, not having opportunities held back. Sadly, I can't. Unlike others who shout all lives matter to those protesting, they just don't seem to understand that the society that we live in wasn't built with that statement in mind. It's like a street of houses and one is on fire, so you call 999 for the fire brigade to put the fire out. While they are doing this, the people who live in the other houses, that their houses are not on fire, are grabbing the firemen and saying, "What about our house? All houses matter." Yes, they do, but the one on fire takes priority. That's the one that needs the help. Just because we don't see it happen doesn't mean it didn't happen. Imagine a forest and a tree falls. Does it still make a sound if there is no one to hear it? I know this is a philosophy question, however, the answer is yes. There is still a sound because science, physics, and all that jazz. I don't really understand. I can't explain how sound waves work, but it will still make a sound even though there is no one to hear it. I know it seems pitiful having a white trans man speaking about this, especially when you have a bunch of movies where there is a white saviour, such as The Help, The Blind Side, Hardball, Avatar. I mean, the Avatar, the blue one, the blue people, not The Last Airbender. That is just a plain no live action. Then there's Last Samurai and Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. The list goes on of white saviour movies. But I'm glad. I will gladly step aside and let a trans woman, non-binary, a transgender man who's black, Asian, Latina, Hispanic, whatever, take the stage and teach me more about what I need to know, what I'm doing wrong, what I can improve on, and many other things. Why, you ask? I want to be a better person. I want to live with what I have, knowing others can have it as well. It may be a Star Trek dream, but the show influenced many things, such as technology we have today. So why not learn to be better to one another? I mean, the show wasn't perfect, and the creator wasn't a wonderful, caring man, but he was a genius before his time and saw things we needed and gave us a show that addressed it, especially with Benjamin Sisko. Hundreds of years had passed, but he still remembered the pain of his ancestors and the lessons learned from both sides, the oppressed and the oppressors. I do recommend you watch Deep Space Nine. Avery Brooks is amazingly talented. He made me laugh, cry, and think. It was just amazing, especially the episode where he goes against that Captain Vulcan guy on a baseball episode. It's amazing what he learned on that himself. He was always not only teaching others, but he was also evolving as a person himself. He always knew when to admit when he was wrong, even if he didn't want to. If you do want to support Black trans lives, you can go to blacktranslivesmatter.com, and there's also blacklivesmatter.com. If you want to learn more about trans non-binary, you can go to mermaidsuk.org.uk. We are not supported by or sponsored in any way by these charities, but we love mermaids and I love to get charities across so they get more attention. Remember, when talking about issues, always keep in mind to hashtag Let's Get Awkward. because we never got anywhere by pussyfooting around the issue. If you would like to support the podcast, there is a link on the Let's Get Awkward Facebook page and a link on the Podbean website under my pick. It's paypal.me/Let's Get Awkward. Hope to see you all again next time, and we now are on Podbean, Spotify and Anchor.fm. So if you want to use different platform that's more easy for you, we now have 3 platforms. So thank you for listening, and good night, folks.